All right. Okay. So welcome everyone. Just wanted to make sure that I was streaming live here, and make sure if you're on the actual webinar, if you could post some questions over there, let me know you're there. That'll be awesome. And Facebook, as I stated, I cannot see your questions because my phone is way over there. But what you can do is go to the webinar itself and post some things inside there, and we'll kind of move from that space. All right. So I'm going to start with a little bit about today and a little bit about me. So my name is LaRick Calhoun, the Real Biz Coach, and I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, which kind of encompasses who I am in the real estate business, or in business and in the real estate market. So my industry started for me in 2000. I was a barber, and I was standing outside of the barber shop, and I ended up meeting a gentleman who was from Florida, and he asked me, was I interested? Well, he was just sharing, we were just talking summer day, about August sometime, and he was sharing with me that he was a real estate investor. And I was piqued. I was only about 31 years old, somewhere around there, 30, 31 years old. And it piqued my interest. I wanted to know what a real estate investor did. It sounded like a lot of money. It sounded like a lot of fun. And I wanted to know how could I get involved in that? And he was in the process of being able to build a program that would allow people to be educated and coached to get into the real estate business. So I asked if I could be a part of that. And the answer was yes. He and I built a relationship. Won't go into that story today, but it inspired my real estate business, and where he started me off, which was learning about the real estate industry finance first. He said, you got to learn about the money in real estate if you're going to be able to do anything in real estate. And so I went on and sought out a career as a loan officer, in which I learned about how money worked. I learned about how to finance a property for a first-time home buyer, how to refinance a property to negotiate privately. Let's see, I don't see. More. 1 second. One second, everyone. All right, I'm trying to make sure that my little Zoom is working here, my webinar platform, to make sure that that participants can hear me. And it says it's recording, so you'll work through it. One thing about it, it's got 6 people joined so far. All right, so I'll keep going. Let's see, I'm gonna put it, can you hear? So answer in chat. All right, so in a second, I'll have an answer for that. I wanna make sure that we're not doing this all in vain. I know I'm recording on my side. Get a slightly bigger marker. All right, perfect, thank you. Okay, so getting back to the story. They tell you facts tell, stories sell. So I have to tell you my story so you can really know why I do what it is I do. So I got into the mortgage industry. Fast forward, I learned a lot about how to finance people into homes. I learned a lot about how to market myself as a professional. I learned a lot about private lending, hard money. Those are with some things you'll learn about today. I learned about how the banks think versus mortgage companies. I learned about refinances, purchases, home equity loans, every single thing I could learn about in the mortgage business. I learned how title companies work. appraisals, how they work, the insurance companies and the different levels of insurance that you can use, from your homeowner's insurance to your title insurance to your rehab insurance. It was all types of insurance that protected your project or your home. And so I learned about all those things in the process of being a real estate loan officer. And around the second year in the business, I began to focus on actually flipping my first property. And I did it through a hard money lender. And today, the hard money lenders are a lot more lenient in their fees than they were back then. Back then, it was 18% interest only payment that you owed them, 10% that you had to pay on a deal. So if it was a $50,000 loan, you had to pay $5,000 plus 18% interest only payments until you paid that loan back. You had 6 months to a year to pay that loan back. It's a lot more flexible today, which you'll learn about when I get into the funding side of what we're talking about today. So my journey led me through developing my first project. It was not pretty. I ended up bumping every part of my head I could with the contractors, with not understanding inventory. My first property was in East Cleveland. Wasn't the most desirable community at that time, but I did sell it. I did make $40,000 on that first project. I did split it with my mentor at that time. We split it 20,000 a piece, which is what we had agreed upon on a handshake deal, which we'll talk about a lot later. Didn't have to get through a lot of contracts. Back then it was handshake and trust. Was able to get that done, and I was off and running. From there, I was able to start building momentum in the area of buy, fix, flip, wholesaling, short selling. I had to short sell some properties for a young lady that had about 35 properties that her husband had left her when he went to prison, and she didn't know what to do with them. They was all in foreclosure. When I got on the phone, I learned how to do a short sale, which we won't talk about today. But for those of you that know what short sales are, they're not the easiest process. There is a magic behind doing them. We do have a seminar coming up on March 12th with some experts coming in from, I think they're coming from Denver, that are going to be here to teach about how to build a business around short sales and creating options before a person loses a home. Today, we're going to talk about how to grab a property that's already maybe been lost through foreclosure. There's nothing else that can be done, or someone has lost interest in it, and you can acquire that property, find funding for it, fix that property, and then flip that property. You can rent it and flip it, or you can just directly flip it, and we'll talk about those options. So my journey led me to doing a lot of inventory. At one point, I was rehabbing properties, coaching, and I didn't know it was called coaching then. I was only about 33 at that point, coaching other individuals to get into business and helping them build what I call a real estate portfolio for themselves. And I would use my contractors, my resources, my funders to help them get into business, and they would bring some capital to the table. Some had all cash, some had to get hard money, but at the end of the day, we walked through the process together, and I used all of my best practices to help them successfully get into the real estate business. Buy, fix, hold, where they was able to make rental property, buy, fix, flip, which was more that was more prevalent back then. And then lastly, we had the what is called the buy or the wholesaling was not as prevalent back then as it is now. Now all you hear is wholesaling, and I'll close my presentation kind of talking about how that market is going to be a part of what it is that we're doing. So that's pretty much all I want to really want to say about myself. I will tell you this: after the real estate industry died in 2007, well, right before it died, I launched my company, which is called 2Excel. 2Excel was to help people to excel through real estate and investing and empowering them to excel through real estate. I was going to teach, consult, train, host events, seminars, you name it, because I saw there was a need for that in the real estate industry. Well, lo and behold, I acquired a building in Shaker Heights, right on the main street, all blue, everything looked really nice, got the carpet in, 2-story, 3,000 square feet, and the industry crashed the next year. So needless to say, I was one of those stories, rags to riches, or riches to rags, actually, rags to riches, from riches back to rags, and I had to reinvent myself. What I found during that time was that people entrusted my ability to market and bring out people to get access to information and education, and I began to be hired as a consultant. And for the last 10 years, I've been helping a lot of other organizations put on events, put on educational seminars, workshops all throughout the country. Les Brown, who you just heard speaking, is one of my clients, Dr. George Frazier. Just a lot of power networking conferences. I've worked with a lot of different conferences, National Association of Real Estate Brokers, and some smaller organizations, some non-real estate related. So now, within the last 2 years, people keep saying, LaRick, are you getting back into real estate? I'm like, real estate is still dead. And one buddy was like, no, LaRick, real estate is back, and you need to get in it. I'm like, well, what do? I don't have the real estate investing money that I had back then. I don't have the same credit situation I had back then. I have more entrepreneurial credit. What can I do in real estate? And over the last year and a half, I've been slowly but surely coming back in it. And one thing my other buddy said was, LaRick, do what you've always done, which is empower people, but empower them in the real estate. Which I'm like, well, shoot, that's what I was doing with 2Excel back in the day. So here it is now 15 years later, where I launched a business 12 years ago of 2Excel to empower people to excel in real estate. The market is back. So what am I going to do now with my 10 years of consulting experience, my training experience, in which I didn't have any of that back then? Now, more than just the passion, I have the skills to help people transform their mind, transform their business, access the resources, things of that nature I can do now more confidently to help people get into business. So I'm on my second real estate flip project, and I have numerous other projects going right now with other partners here and throughout the country. I have a situation going on in Carolina, and I have a situation that's brewing in Atlanta. So there's some things moving right now, but I really love this space of education and empowerment, and that's where you're going to get your information from today. So with that being said, today's information is a presentation. It's only going to take about 20 minutes or so to go through how to find, fund, fix, and flip. This is not a workshop. I don't expect you to leave out of here being able to go and find, fund, fix, and flip a property, but I do expect you to have a conceptual idea around how it works and an understanding of how myself as a coach and my network can service you if you decide you want to work in the industry of real estate investing and work with me in order to do so. If you don't, that's what the whole purpose of a webinar is to make sure that we haven't wasted too much time for each other. We see if there's a fit, and then we can connect and move forward by live appointment or by webinar if you're not in Cleveland. I know we have some people logged in from California and other parts of the country. So let's talk about, with that being said, the 4 F's. Starting with finding, RE, finding real estate. So the industry now, there's a couple things I want you to write down. I will jot them down, then I will erase them because I'm only working with this one whiteboard. And you can find properties pretty much anywhere. One of the techniques that I'm working with one of our recent members on is how powerful Facebook is. Before you spend $1 on any leads or partnerships or resources, just simply put a post out on your page saying, we buy houses cash. By putting that on your page, what you'll find is that your page, even if it's only 100 people on there, unfortunately, people pass on in life. So sometimes someone may leave a property in their family, and the family has no clue of what to do with that property. And they want to move that property on once they get past the grieving process. So when you say we buy houses cash, those properties pop up. Properties pop up that people may have purchased cash and no longer have a need for them because maybe they didn't think that they could, maybe they purchased them 10 years ago when the market was really low and they got it for $5,000. And they say, hey, look, it's empty. I didn't do any work on it. Maybe I can sell it now for $5,000, $10,000, $8,000. And they offer that property to you. It does not hurt you to put this out because the we versus I can include myself and my team to look at those properties. You can put the post out today, say we buy houses cash. Soon as they inbox you back, I'll give you a contact number that you can reach out to me, and we can have found a property to possibly rehab. Now there's some variables we have to look at and some areas that we have to assess the property, but that's at least getting the phones ringing without you having to go out and beat on the streets and put signs up on the walls and poles and things of that nature, be a master salesperson or anything else. You can do that. That's one way. Number two, you can search on sites like Craigslist, Zillow, I think Trulia, searches. A lot of times people that want to sell their home on their own will go to these projects, these platforms, and place their information directly on the site in efforts to sell it themselves. They're called for sale by owners. Sometimes they'll have a for sale by owner sign out front, a red and white sign. You drive by one of those, you always want to take down the phone number, take a picture of the address, and take a picture of the street, and contact them to see what it is that they're looking for out of that property. These people are avoiding real estate agents because they want to try to make sure that their house can sell with the least amount of margin impacted, which sometimes when you get into the real estate agent, there's going to be a commission which pushes that property deal up. And if it's already a distressed property, then it may not have a lot of room. Doesn't mean that it's a bad house. It just means it doesn't have a lot of room for a lot of people to put fees on it. 3, everyone wants to know about foreclosures. Now, foreclosures, you can go to foreclosure auctions. You can go to places like auction.com. You can go to Hubzoo. You can go to your average realtor who has what they call REO properties, real estate owned or bank owned. Tax sales in your local area. These are how you access foreclosed properties. Now, if you want to get into a more aggressive strategy on how to find a foreclosure, what we call pre-foreclosure, that's something we could talk about later, where you catch a person right before they're going into or as they're going into foreclosure and begin to negotiate with them a position to take their property or purchase their property. So for this topic, we're only going to talk about finding foreclosures the easy way, going on places like auction.com. Now, when you go to these tax sales and auction.com type places, the problem that you're going to run into is you cannot enter the property. You can't technically even walk on the property's lot in most cases because someone lives there. So, or maybe living there or renting it, and it's still their property until it goes through the auction, in which once it goes through the auction or completes the foreclosure, at that point they're able to say, hey, this now is sold at the auction. The homeowner or tenant no longer has rights to the property other than the rights of how to transition out of it. There's a process. The new owner now has rights to be able to help a person, have a person either stay, move on, or be evicted, whichever process it takes to get them out of there. So these are not the easiest properties to deal with. I don't recommend them at all for beginners. You have to have cash or have a really solid process to deal with tax auctions and online platforms. Bank-owned properties, great. You could get those from the REO agent. Real estate owned is what REO stands for. Real estate owned. Yes, you should be taking notes and writing this stuff down because I'm going to give a verbal presentation because it's more of a presentation. It's not a workshop where I would give a little bit more meat on the bones. I just want you to have an overview so you can trust the process. All right, and know that and be aware of it. So the bank-owned property is easier because the real estate agent will have them under contract already. And we have a couple real estate agents on our team that can help you with that. Not all real estate agents specialize in the bank-owned property area. So you would want to ask them if they're in the real estate-owned, bank-owned property space. Yes, all real estate agents can access those properties, but not all of them deal with them directly, so they may not totally have them as a sweet spot for them, and you want to deal with the strongest person in that category. So you will be able to reach out to and talk to me. I have plenty of real estate agents as partners that can help you from here throughout Ohio and in other parts of the country. So, right? So these things all exist in every part of the country, right? So the last one that we will talk about is acquiring property from wholesalers. I'll put wholesale folks. So how do I find a wholesaler? So I'm a wholesaler. I have a team of wholesalers. We have a website that we will be placing in the market in the next 5 to 7 days that will have a ton of properties that are wholesale. What is a wholesale deal, Larick? A wholesale deal says, hey, Larick may have put out a sign or may have done one of these strategies and found a great deal. A deal that could be funded, fixed, and flipped. Larick could either fund it, fix it, and flip it himself, or he can pass the deal on, which we'll talk about in our next step, to someone like yourself that maybe is interested in also fixing and flipping a property. So instead of me keeping the sweet deal for myself, I would only add a couple thousand to the deal and pass it on to you, and they call that a wholesale transaction. Anybody ever went to New York and bought a purse or a watch or a hat, brought it back to Cleveland and sold it for a margin, then New York was your wholesaler. You bought the hat for $5 there, you came back buying it from that wholesaler, and you sold it for retail for $10, and you made a margin. So wholesalers are getting out there left and right. How do I find a wholesaler, Rick, if I don't want to just work with you? Well, when you're driving around and you see We Buy Houses Cash, those are probably wholesalers. They're looking for the deals so they can then grab those deals and then put those deals out on the marketplace to people like yourself. So you can take them and fix them and flip them. You ask a question, which is, if the deal is that sweet, why would they not keep it themselves? Well, a lot of times people are not into that. A lot of times people don't have the contracting, the resources. A lot of wholesalers are out of state, so they may just be buying good deals like the stock market and then putting those deals back on the market. Real estate agents are wholesalers. They take and find a great deal on property, add a margin to it, by licensed law, legally licensed to do so, and then they market that property till someone buy it and they make a commission. They don't sell it for what they got it, what they found it for. So in a way, they're in the same market. And sometimes those markets can conflict because they're doing the same job, just two different ways. Real estate agents are licensed by the state to be able to legitimately contract that house, show that house to strangers, and take that house through the process to sell it to the stranger. Wholesalers cannot do that in most states. That would be against the law. We'll talk about that in our wholesale class. What wholesalers do is a little bit different, but I won't go into that on this particular call or presentation. But there is a way that you can get yourself good and locked up being a wholesaler if you don't abide by the rules. So that's something we'll talk about. But for those that have already mastered wholesaling, it's very, very much above the board for you to buy a deal from them. Or you can buy it from a realtor. Or you can buy a deal from both of them. So that being said, That's how you find properties. Okay? So that's that part, and I'm going to move on to if there's no questions, I don't see any, then I'm going to move on to the funding part, the fun part, funding. All right? Any questions? I'll give it 10 seconds. See if there's anyone else anyone that wants to post a question. If you're on Facebook Live, we're doing a Find Fund Fix Flip webinar. I just chimed in. You know, I like to keep you all posted. You can scroll down on my page, register for the webinar, and log in to where I'm at on this platform. You also can go to My eNetwork on Facebook and like the page and get more information on upcoming webinars. You can also go to The Real Biz Coach on Facebook or on Instagram and follow me there. Just a little plug in the middle, just in case everyone can't stay the whole time. I'm only going to 10:30. All right, so no questions, so I'm gonna move on. Oh boy, maybe I'm not gonna move on. But this was Lord have mercy. I promise you, oh, you know what? This I brought last week for my paper flip chart. So we're going to flip to the other side of the board, and I'll have to deal with this later. That is hilarious. I'm glad I listened to my motivational video this morning, because that would have bummed me out. Lift up my chalkboard, my whiteboard. Stuff happens, y'all, in life. You gotta be ready. You gotta stay optimistic, even when things are not going as you want them to go. But there's always another side. Keep that in mind. Now I'm gonna go get the right marker. This says dry erase. And I'm gonna grab 2 of them. All right, so we're back at it. We're back in action. Hopefully you can see these notes. I'll turn this up a little bit. Okay. All right, so number 2, what we're going to talk about is funding. How to find properties, we just did. Now how to fund properties. So you can fund a property with your cash. If you have enough money to buy and fix a property, and before you say it, there's a lot of people that have cash, not the majority, but some people do have cash. There is a way for us to be able to help you do that. We will talk about that when we get ready to begin to work together on how to safely use cash to fund and fix your property. Fund it and fix it. Okay? So cash is one way. Then you have cash groups. Like investment clubs, you're able to come together with some family members and what they call leverage equals speed. You can have 3, 4, 5 people out of your family come together with a couple $1,000s a piece, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5,000. We have some groups coming together, 2,500, 5,000, and 10,000, where they actually pool their resources together, and then we're working with an organization, Specialized IRA Services, with a gentleman named Alan, that will actually allow more people to come together under a self-directed IRA fashion and team up and go after properties. I have a question coming in. I want to make sure I can answer it. How can an individual get more information on funding guidance through the process? Okay, that's what we're getting ready to go on right now. All right? So cash groups. So you can pool your resources, and there's a myriad of ways. Crowdfunding, setting up what we're going to set up with the self-directed IRA groups. Being able to just get with your family as a group and come to the table, put your money together and work with a title company. We can help you with that to do a deal. You have credit. Again, some people have credit cards that exceed the amount that it takes to buy a property. And they can get a Home Depot credit card to get the materials. Then they can limit their cash that they use to invest it. So a lot of times we work with people to use credit cards as a way to invest. Very smart move, because whatever interest you're paying back on a credit card is better than pulling your cash out and having it trapped up when you can use your credit, which is still something valuable, but it's not something that you worked all week to build up, like your income from your job. So credit cards is a way to be able to fund properties. A lot of people miss this, and being able to apply at Home Depot and Lowe's to get lines of credit with them so you can get your materials to offset your expense to flipping that property. That is huge. Put a star by it, especially if you have credit. If you don't have credit, we could talk about ways to help you get your credit repaired. Another one is private / hard money loans. Both of these are very close to each other. So I want to talk about them in a second. I want to go back and talk about what is called self-directed IRA. Not a lot of people have 401ks, but for those that do, more people should have them. There is a way that you could do a self-directed IRA working with our partner with the self-directed IRA company that I mentioned earlier, that you would be able to work with specialized IRA services to be able to convert your 401k into a self-directed IRA. I won't go into that deep today. I'll let him present that on a future event, and use that money to safely invest into real estate. So you can talk about that later. So now, the last one I'm going to talk about today is private and hard money. Very similar, so I won't separate the two like I did at my workshop, but I'll tell you what they do. These entities are created by people that have 401ks, they have money just under the mattress, they have money in savings, and they work with what they call private and hard money brokers. And the brokers are licensed to be able to broker this money out to projects. Now, the project has a couple equations. You, the person is getting the loan, and the property. They're more interested in the property than they are you and your credit. So they're going to look at this property and say, hey, this property needs to have money because it's an ugly home. Most traditional banks, like your local Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whatever, PNC, they don't specialize in giving you money to buy an ugly home that doesn't have plumbing, furnaces, roof, windows knocked out. They're going to say, no, that's not their area. Either you're going to have cash, credit card, or you're going to have private funding to be able to acquire one of these properties and fix them. There's other products in the marketplace like the 203K loan Wells Fargo does. If you were going to live in that property, that would entertain, but I think Wells Fargo stopped doing it. There's other programs that would allow you as a first-time home buyer to acquire property for low, then fix it up, then live in it, but that's not what game we would use. You would only be able to use that for one property. This is to be able to buy unlimited ugly houses that they will give you not only the money to purchase it, but they'll also give you the money to fix it. So purchase plus fix. That would allow you to be able to take this property, and if the property itself was 20K, and it needed 20K to fix it, and that would be a total of $40,000 plus their fees that they would give you to buy and fix this property. Hope you're getting that, Facebook. Facebook, you can leave questions in there that I can answer later. 20 plus 20, 40,000, they will give you the money to purchase it, fix it under a few conditions. Number one, they like for you to have some type of experience. That's where we come in at and partnering with you if you don't. Number two, they like for you to have sometimes a credit score of 620 plus. They also like for you to have 10 to 20% down. We can help you in these areas. So if you don't have all of this, then that's another reason why you would partner with myself and my team to help you on your first project. This process we will walk you through to help you get qualified and pre-qualified so that you can go find houses. The other condition, is the biggest condition, is that the property must fit 60 to 70, sometimes 80% of the after repair value. It must fit within that number. So if the after you fix it up, ARV, repair value is $100,000, you're saying, hey, I found this great deal in my area. These houses normally would go for $100,000 if they were repaired. The value would be $100,000. It's ugly right now, but after I repair this, the value is going to be around $100,000. I can get this deal for $20,000, and it only cost me $20 as an estimate of repairs from my contractor to fix it up. I'll only be in it for $40,000. Well, the lender said, hey, long as you're not in it for more than 60%, which is $60,000, then we can look at that deal. I don't care where it's at. Second, or what condition it's in. Secondly, they're going to ask, hey, we can give you 100% of the purchase, but we may want you to bring 10 to 20% of your rehab money. Remember that 20% over here, 10 to 20% of this $20,000 rehab money? They may say, hey, you need to bring $2,000 of your own money or $4,000 of your own money so you can have what they call skin in the game. Okay? So that's how that works. So the private money lenders, how do they make their money? In addition to the $20,000 to purchase, $20,000 to fix, they're going to have a fee of sometimes 5 to 10 points, which is percentage. So on this $40,000 loan, they're going to have anywhere from a $2,000 to $4,000 fee on that deal. And then how does the people that gave them the money make their money? They're going to get a monthly interest only payment, anywhere from 6 to 12%, and sometimes up to 18% interest only payments. And that's not really fully necessary for this conversation, but you should know how everybody make their money so you can know, hey, look, this is how they make their money. I'm going to make mine when I flip this house. Because if I got it for $40,000, I paid $2,000 to $4,000 in fees, call it $4,000. I paid interest for a few months, $600 a month for 6 months, $3,600. That's another $3,600. I'm at $7,600 plus the 40. I'm at $47,600 on that property. If I'm able to sell it for just $87,600, then I make $40,000 on that property. And that is a very possible deal. So that's how the private money works. And that's how you move from finding a good deal to funding that deal. Before I move on, I want to match those two up. When I'm out looking for a property, I really should have already, even though it's find, fund, fix, flip, is really get your funding pre-approved, then move to your next step, which is being able to identify with properties that meet your pre-approval. And that's the process we will help you with. We're not going to have you just out looking for properties and you don't know if they qualify. When you work with myself and my team, we will help you find the type of property you should be looking for so you can go on a hunt for that property based on your pre-qualification. Any questions on that? Facebook, I can't see your questions. I want to just say that again for those of you that's just joining in. I'm doing a live webinar. You can scroll down on the page, chime into the webinar, or I can answer your questions afterwards. And this time, before I erase, I use the right marker. Recap: funding, cash, credit cards, or private and hard money lenders. That's how you fund the deals. That's what we're going to work with you to do so. Last but not least, the last two parts. Fixing. We work with you to identify with contractors that either we utilize or some of our partners utilize. You want to use either a general contractor or you want to get a good handyman carpenter. Why a carpenter more than a plumber? Carpenters are pretty well rounded in doing everything in the house, from drywall to wood floors to toilets, light plumbing. They pretty much can do everything in some general capacity. And because they're usually the one in the house doing the walls and floors and stuff like that, they usually have to partner with plumbers, electricians, roof guys, concrete people. So a carpenter is a good person to build a team around. General contractors are people that run a crew of electricians, plumbers, and other resources in order to be a general contractor on your deal to get everything coordinated and done. Usually if you use one of them, you're going to pay anywhere from 10 to 20% above whatever you would have paid on that project. You're going to get the expertise in an all-inclusive deal, but sometimes you can't afford that on your first deals. The third way is we partner with a company that has an online platform that enables you to be able to upload videos and all of your resources that you need, everything you need done in a house. If you could just record it, you don't have to know what you're looking at, and upload it onto the site. They will be able to bid to what they can purchase or do that property renovation for right off your video. So that's what we're going to be working with. I'm not announcing the name just yet because we're about one more meeting away from being able to ink a partnership. But that's what we use to move you through the process, and that's what we're going to be utilizing along with other experts that some of our partners use based on their availability. We work with very diverse contractors. We all know that the Amish are very strong in the area of carpentry. So they do a lot of our drywall, roofing, things of that nature, but they don't do concrete. So sometimes we'll have a different crew that do concrete, a different crew that does electrical, plumbing, things of that nature. All right? So fixing, there's an order to how you fix properties. I won't go into them today, but when you go to fix a property, you want to start with a certain order. You don't want to really start your painting first and then go back to do your plumbing, start your painting, go back to do your electrical. You don't want to start inside, but then come back later and do your security. You don't want to do your windows, but you haven't done your painting. So it's certain things that we walk you through to help you fully understand how to do the fixed part of what you're going to do with the property. There's not a lot to talk about here other than proper budgeting, using the right spreadsheet and systems, and being able to use the proper contracts like what we use. I had a recent situation with a contractor who was a little bit late in doing my my project. We had a little bit of a disconnect, but I was able to go back to the contract and enforce the contract, which got our project back moving. Had I not had one, we could have went a whole lot of other directions, and I was going to have to pay almost $1,500 more to get that project done. we closed out. I only ended up spending a couple $100 to close out the project. And our relationship kept going because of that contract. And we'll do that and work with you as a coach team to do that with you. The last part is flipping. Now, Cleveland market is a phenomenal market for flipping properties right now. The reason why it's so easy to flip a property here, I just watched a 17-year-old flip a property to another 17-year-old. You can see it on my Facebook video yesterday. Those two, the one from Russia, the one from Cleveland, Rob the house guy's son, is in real estate. And he had a property, and he was able to flip his property right to another gentleman that's 17 years old. And only in Cleveland can you find a property, $19,000, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, light renovation. They did what they call seller financing. I won't get into that today, but they were able to flip that property, $19,000, decent looking property, decent community. The young man is from Russia. He's going to rent this property. Later, he can sell this property. So he acquired it. He can rent it for upwards of $700 to $800 a month. And this is what Cleveland is really known for. This is a flip. Even if we aren't even getting back into the $40,000 property that we just put together, they sold at 100. I'm just showing you a simple reason why people are investing in Cleveland so much for those of you that's not in the city that's chiming in from different areas. This property, when it's complete, maybe will have $10,000 in it. That'll be $29,000. $700 to $800 a month on $29,000. You can do the math on what the cap rate on that is. That's a phenomenal deal. $29,000 isn't making this type of interest in any bank, in any market, in any stock, consistently. So Cleveland has properties like this that constantly are being able to flip. The young man is going to rent it because he lives in Russia. When he's done with it, year, 2 years down the line, he can sell this property for possibly $39,000 and pick up an additional $10,000. So when we talk about flipping, this market is a hot market for flipping properties. Remember we talked about the $40,000 investment we just did with the $100,000 after repair value. How easy or difficult would it be to sell a property with that type of value? Wouldn't be hard at all. So Cleveland, when it comes down to flipping a property, you want to use a real estate agent. We have a few on our team that we work with, about 4, that are really good and strong with flipping properties that have recently been renovated through our network. So that's who you would want to use, and that's who we would use if you was to partner with us. We would use our own funders. We would use our own wholesalers. We would use our own contractors, and we use our own realtors to help you flip the property. Why do I use a realtor and pay them on the back end when maybe I didn't want to pay them on the front end in all cases? Well, on the back end, realtors have what you call access to the MLS, the multiple listing service. There's literally hundreds of thousands of people searching the MLS on a daily basis, probably millions. So the house, once it's put on the MLS, when it's all pretty, sorry for my drawing, that ugly home, now pretty, goes to the MLS and it accesses people that are looking for that particular house in that area. I know you probably already know this, but some people don't because they may not have rented. They may not have purchased a house before or searched. They may not know that when you go to buy your first home, the realtor is going to put you in contact with the platform, the MLS, and it's going to begin to send you properties based on your criteria. A $100,000 home in a suburb or $1 million home in another suburb. or $25,000 home. The MLS can search those, which is why you want to use a realtor to flip the house. It's easy. You utilize that, then they are able to shoot back properties and buyers based on who may have been looking in your area. Big old sign goes out, the flip is easy. The most difficult part, if you notice, we went from the hardest part, which was finding the deal. The second, maybe most challenging part, which would have been funding the deal. Fixing got a lot easier. Fixing was not this easy back in the day. You had to go out and find a contractor. You had to figure out how you was gonna catch them because there was no Facebook. You can't even pull them up and stalk them anymore. Using a company like we use, you could just upload information on YouTube and see people work and be in that space like this. And then flipping, realtor. So you went from the most difficult part to the easiest part in no time. I'll tell you this in closing, this is the easiest time to get into the flipping business ever. The properties are in the sweetest categories. It's very competitive now because a lot of people are buying these properties left and right. That's why you want to get access to our properties because we have off-market properties, which I didn't talk about that term earlier, but properties, wholesale properties are off-market. That means they're not available by the MLS. You only can get them through who has them. So we have those properties. We have the private lenders on deck ready to help you with your first deal. We'll coach you. We have the contractors and we have the realtors to help you flip. So there's not a difficult space for you to be able to get in. You don't have to have experience. You don't have to necessarily have a lot of credit because we may be able to partner you with someone that does, but don't let anything keep you from engaging with us in order to get into the momentum of figuring this thing out. How do you engage us? As I mentioned, on Facebook, My E Network or the Rick Calhoun the Real Biz Coach. My E Network, you could just go on there and like us. The Rick Calhoun, follow me, the Real Biz Coach on Instagram or Facebook. Those are the tags where you can reach me. What does it cost to get started in our group? I can email you. If you email me or inbox me your email address, I'll email you the programs that I have to help you get started. We can get started when you're ready. It does not cost you a lot of money to get started. The program, $29,000 is how much it costs to get into this type of business if you go out and do your research. When you're jumping in our network, $299 is what it costs to get you into the game, to get you into the environment of being able to buy, fix, find, fund, fix, and flip properties. With $299, you're able to join our network. I'll personally walk you through the resources to help you get into your first deal. Where will I make the rest of my money at? In the deal. Just like the gentleman that helped me get into business in the beginning, he walked me through the process. We split revenue on the back end. That's exactly what I'll do with you. No, it's not going to be $29,000 on the first deal, but our contract will be $29,000. But you're going to learn how to make wealth for the rest of your life. But out of that $29,000, I will single-handedly walk you through the entire process until we make enough money where we, on a 50-50 revenue share, have made this dollar amount, $29,000. When we made $29,000 between the two of us, that means $15,000 a piece minus the 300 bucks. Then our relationship at that point can stop and your relationship with the real estate industry can begin. This is what we can talk about. $29,000 program. Do your research. No, you don't have to pay it up front. It'll be built into the deal. Yes, you have to engage it in the contract, but this is how we will work together. All right? In closing, as I wrap up here, I'm going to put my phone number, and you can inbox me if you're on Facebook, and I'm out of here. Thank you for joining my webinar. This will be recorded. All right, 216-916-9432. Sorry, I wrote that fast. Rooms. Trying to switch. 216-916-9432 is my number. It's not a text message line, but you can reach me there and inbox me on Facebook. I appreciate you for joining today's Find, Fun, Fix, and Flip webinar, and I look forward to doing business with you. I'll tell you more about the package and send it over to you if you're interested. All right, let's make money, and don't let it make you. Talk to you later. To Excel, the Real Biz Coach, and I'm out.